answer should always be make it. Do the thing. Make the song, make the painting. Because I don't know about you, but there is this wonderful feeling after you've created something that you have just put something into the world. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Solmanac. I'm Saul. Great to have you here again, and we're going to do a little something. Well, I had this idea for a fun little project. I'm writing one of my latest stories, Haunted Woods, an undead something, full moon, all that fun stuff. And as I was writing the story, I thought, this would be a cool image too. It's a little different, but I thought, hey, why don't I go ahead and just indulge myself on this, and I can film it, and maybe we make a fun little vlog out of it. And so it was fun, and I look forward to sharing it with you. So let's take an adventure together, and we'll see what we find. I hope you enjoy. Great to have you here again. And away we go. Pencil to paper. And such beautiful, treated, versatile paper it is indeed. I'm really enjoying this art journal. In case you haven't noticed from maybe some of the previous episodes of this vlog, it's kind of my go-to place to play, push around ideas. And I noticed they're getting just a little more freer. I think when I first got this art journal, and if you check out the video of me taking you on a tour through the journal, you might understand why I might have felt a little intimidated to just pour my soul into it. I felt like the pieces in there needed to do justice to the paper, which is kind of a terrifying place to be when you have an art journal. It should just be a place that promotes the free flow of ideas and imagination. But I think I've had a few different breakthroughs, not just in my art in the journal, but also how the journal can influence me. I'm already having micro breakthroughs with the vlogging as I learn the nature of the beast and I start to remove the different levels of complexity that maybe my mind has made for it. And with this one, I'm writing this story. I am almost done with it. I'm about to post it on my Substack. Hopefully it's on by the time I post this vlog. But it's really coming along making art this way. And it also helps me make sense of the world. Not necessarily where I am taking what's happening day to day or month to month, but taking a feeling and then making a piece of art out of it. If it makes me feel something when I look at it, that's great. If it makes me feel something when I'm making it, it's even better. I feel like this sense of completion when a piece is done. And it is great to put yourself in a situation that forces you to make more, to create more. Whether it's deadlines or it's a list of things that all need to get done. And I think there's a lot of factors with a vlog. I mean, at the end of the day, it is filmmaking, and one of the things that I've always loved about film, I mean, I come from that, is film is a mix of many different ideas, many different mediums of art. Visual, you have storyboards, you have acting, you have directing, you have writing, you have music for the scores, you have cinematography, on it goes, and they combine together to make this almost ultimate form of viewing and creation. And I think that as I make these vlogs, in some ways I have to keep a lot of those things in mind. Granted, for music, I'm not necessarily making music, I'm just arranging music to put in here. You know, like arranging the order of different tracks. And there is certainly a side of the director or the editor in there that I'm working on a lot. And I find it very fulfilling. I remember when I was a kid, the first things I wanted, I've been drawing since I was about 2 years old, and back then all I wanted to do was draw like animals or people, and then eventually people, particularly cowboys and superheroes, particularly the Lone Ranger and Superman, and I always loved drawing that S. But also, you know, my name starts with S, so. And Lone Ranger had those 2 6-shooters and the mask. I just thought he looked so cool. And then he was almost all in blue, but he had that cool red scarf blowing in the wind. And I always think about that and how much I'm so much more into telling a story now. And I like backgrounds. I like making a forest. To this day, one of my favorite things to do is painting a misty, foggy forest, or a forest at night in the moonlight. And I've mentioned before, I had points in my life where I didn't draw anything or paint anything for 10 years, you know. I mean, that was one point in my life. And there's a sadness I get when I look back on that, of how I did not give myself permission to just experience things. If I was in a beautiful forest, there was this part of me that just got this misplaced idea that I needed to own a place like this, or I needed to go away and be in a place like this. And I could do that, and sometimes I did, I became acutely aware that it wasn't enough. The grass would be greener in some other place that I want to be. I think what I didn't truly grasp was that I had formulated myself in earlier years as someone who had been drawing for so long, this idea that I could actually, in a way, own something, because I could recreate something with my expression on it. So I would have this need to, when I saw something, a piece of beautiful scenery or just something of beauty, this part of me, I couldn't explain it, yearned to possess it, which would drive me crazy. And I remember when I started sketching again on hikes, and I felt so happy right there. And it was very frustrating because I'd convinced myself that I was not into art anymore. And I didn't know quite what to do with this simple joy. But I would just keep doing the sketches, and it took me many years to figure this out about myself, that all these unconscious underpinnings that were really messing with me and sometimes influencing important life decisions were actually coming from some long-standing habits that I had just put into myself, in it, which I think were actually good habits, provided they were used the right way. And I look back on that now, and I don't know how else I could possibly use these feelings and these desires and these frustrations in a better way than to tell stories through writing and drawing. Because I'm able to just tell so many, and I'm able to improve and work on them, and it is such a beautiful truth that I see that, you know what I feel like doing, or you know where I feel like going right now in my head? I want to go into a forest in the nighttime, in the moonlight, right now. And I can do that. I can do that in this case with 3 colors: black, white, and blue. Actually, I kind of cheated on this. I wouldn't say it's a true duotone painting, because I think there's 2 different types of blue that I use. It's basically a royal blue and then a turquoise. But I mean, in a way, I'm splitting hairs. It's 3 colors, and I can totally be in a place that I really want to be in right now. And I'm telling a story that gets me excited. By the way, I apologize for the glare on that paint there. It makes it look maybe a little more interesting than it is. uh, he's basically going to be all black. It's like a black silhouette, but right now it's giving a pretty interesting texture. I haven't quite figured out how to make the light behave when I'm painting sometimes. But I have to say, now it's starting to dry. As I have come back to writing the story after this exercise, I feel like the story really blew open. I think in some ways the original image was feeling a little too sacred. And there was, at least for some reason right now, the story needed more than it was getting from the initial image. And I think part of what's really exciting about this, besides what has just transpired, that it's kind of adding a lot more to the story, is that this is just a little simple painting sketch. I'm not doing anything crazy with this image. In some ways, it's almost like there is shapes in it. Like, it just feels like it's mostly shapes. And you can kind of make out what it is, which was also a thing I wanted to do, where it would just be fun. You know, I like to push myself and see how detailed or how complicated I can make an art piece. But I've also lately, as I've gotten better and better at that, wanted to just go back to the simplicity and find the fun. I think a main theme with this particular piece is fun. Like, I'm sometimes really pushing the boat out a little far, and it just gets, that's how you burn out, when you're just not inspired anymore and you're just doing stuff because you have to do it. But this was a way to just step into the unknown. Hey, I'm just going to make a little painting. The reason I don't make second paintings now is because of how complicated the paintings get. But I've done a few lately that have been systematically bursting that type of bubble. The Frankenstein story with the mermaid that I wrote, like, I think it was in fall of last year. And I wound up making a second piece for it after I'd written the whole story. So it's not quite this situation, but it was, I think what astounded me was it's kind of a complicated piece, and I'm really fond of it, but it only took 2.5 hours. And the original painting that spawned the whole story, and it's a pretty epic story, but that original painting was, I think, 3.5 weeks to 4.5 weeks or something like that. It was a long time that I worked on it. But it had a lot of reference, and I was trying to make all these different things work. And, I was just putting higher and higher standards on it. So then when that was done, I almost had this catharsis. As soon as I made the decision, I was like, you know what? I can't just, this story is so long, and I want to post pictures throughout, but they can't just be parts of the same painting for that long of a story. Like I'll do 4 to 6 pieces, maybe 7, of the same painting in photos. I think it can be really interesting when you do that. But if I have a 2-part story, I'm going to put my reasoning was, hey, I put all this time into all of it. Let me do another piece. And my inner company president, I guess, said, all right, I think you can do this. You've worked enough on the whole thing, but make sure it's quick and we have a deadline or whatever. And then I set to executing it, and it just poured out of me. And that was a real breakthrough. That one, I could just do that, especially when I've done a story. It would be cool to basically take a I figured it would be a lot of fun to take all that energy, take the expert that I have now become in the world that I've just created for this particular story, and make something. And I know that's kind of a digression because we're talking about this story here and I'm going to another one. But I think that the takeaway is that fun will get you a lot of creative output if you're really into it. And we're several months away from that initial little breakthrough. And now I'm just going, hey, I've got an idea. Let me put it in there. And that book can stand up to all kinds of multidisciplinary mediums that I do. And the book has become an even deeper friend to me than when I was just writing any thoughts in it. Now it just seems to say, yeah, do it. My pages can take whatever you put in here. So let's discover something. And I think what would be really fun now is if I was to do something kind of similar. Like I said, I take such joy out of painting old, foggy, dark woods. It would be great to just make a whole series of these, make lots of them, and just use all the things that I keep learning. By not only doing the same thing over and over, but by doing it, not waiting too long between paintings. I can take lessons from each one. But yeah, you see right in the middle there, between the beams of Moonlight, I'm getting this really nice quality. It almost just feels like some kind of abstract painting. I always love when you can get that kind of style in a reference. Just like I love a painting to not look too realistic. I work on my abilities with reference and everything to learn as much from reality as possible. But at the end of the day, I'm not looking for photorealism. So just like with that, I do love it if I can put something that kind of bends the feeling of the real world at some point. Challenges me. Maybe it challenges you. I grew up around a lot of redwood trees and oak trees, and I am used to seeing dry forests a lot too. It gets, pretty dry here in California, in case you didn't know. So I think I'm just naturally home in these. I lived in New York about 11 years, and I really wish that I had been discovering this side of myself and just enjoyed creating trees more, because being in that densely populated city with skyscrapers everywhere was just so sad, incredibly sad. And it really is a gift to be able to take something, an image that you love, that inspires you, and get some art supplies, whatever your favorite medium is, and just go create. And it's really beautiful how simple it can be. These days, you can just, go on YouTube like you are now and maybe learn a thing or two about your favorite medium, and then just take off and create something. Or you know what I'm talking about because you already do that. And I think the tricky joke that we all have to deal with is, even if you do all that, there's always resistance and procrastination. And excuses. I have those too. But not this year. Not with this vlog. I am making this thing, and it has just been so eye-opening. But the more I do it, I have to think of two things. I have to think, this is getting much easier. And then the other thing is, you have to keep going. And that's just what's important. But I love that feeling of completion that one has at the end. I love those eyes. So this has been a really fascinating process to rediscover, reinvent this story. I've really enjoyed where it's taking me, and also with this new method. I suspect that I'll have quite a few stories now that have a couple illustrations, not just one, which is pretty exciting. And here is my signature, SSL, Solomon Shiv Landerman. And yeah, one of the first times this year that I am making this particular stamp. And yeah, there were 4 paints there. But look what you can do with just 3 colors. And pretty soon this will be on my Substack. If it's not, either way, I'll be posting it in the description, the link, and you get to enjoy it. So here we are with this wonderful addition to this mysterious story, which I can't wait to share with you. I think that you'll love it, and I hope that you will at least, and let me know in the comments what you think about this. And of course, I would love it if, if you're able to go to Substack and read it, that maybe you will leave a comment there too. And of course, subscribe. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? That was something strange. But it is always striking to me, sometimes I have a decision to make, and that is, should I make this or should I not make it? It's like a Hamlet moment, I guess. But the answer should always be, make it. Do the thing. Make the song, make the painting. Because I don't know about you, but there is this wonderful feeling after you've created something that you have just put something into the world, and it's an accomplishment. Something that was not there before. Like a couple hours ago, this painting was just, in my head. But then I just put this together and I have this feeling. It's like this ignited feeling that happens every time you create something. And that's very important to feel. And I think it is the difference between a creator and a consumer. It's my theory. But I consume all the time, as I'm sure you do. But it is really something, takes a little planning sometimes, mapping things out. And then before you know it, you have created something beautiful. And that is really special, I think. So thanks for being here. It was a lot of fun. And look forward to seeing you on the next one. Make sure you follow on the Substack where this story is going to be. And of course, like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube. And be part of the Inbox of Curiosities. That is my email list where I like to send you cool news and share all kinds of fun stuff. You also get entered to win wonderful Ghost in the Gaslight creations from me, which I'm always happy to do. So yeah, link in the description. Have fun. Great to have you here. And I will see you on the next one. Take care, you beautiful haunted romantics.